Okay everybody, welcome back to Hookin' and Cookin'. Today we are making homemade pizza. I use this Betty Crocker pizza crust pretty religiously. Jiffy has a version that's pretty good too. We're gonna follow the directions on this. So this is for a pizza that will feed a family of 4, everybody getting 2 pieces. So that plus half a cup of hot but not boiling water. We're gonna mix that together pretty well, and then we're gonna let it sit while you get out all of the other ingredients. You preheat your oven as per the back of the package. And then you just kind of get everything ready to roll out your pizza. We're gonna mix this until it's not as dry and all of the wet ingredients are stuck together. Give it a little spin here. Not rocket science, you can't really mess this up. All right, when it balls up like that, just do this, and I put a paper towel on top just so it doesn't dry out while I gather the rest of my ingredients that you saw in the beginning of the video there. Okay guys, I have cleaned my surface pretty well. I'm gonna take some flour and just dust the area. Be really, really liberal with the flour. You can't have too much. I'm also gonna put some in the bowl just to help it to not stick to my fingers. But again, not rocket science for this one. We're just gonna coat it in flour until it's not so sticky anymore, and then we'll worry about rolling it out. So I've preheated my oven, and while I was waiting for this to set, or to rise if you will, I shredded more cheese than I'm willing to admit. If you've seen my previous videos, you know how I feel about cheese, and my kids agree. So we're gonna have a lot of cheese, but I'm just moving this around in the flour to help it not be sticky. Like, I don't want it to stick to me. I don't want it to stick to the rolling pin that we're gonna use in just a minute. And I want to try to keep it in kind of a rounded shape. I have a pizza stone that I'm going to use, but if you want to use a rectangle pan, a square pan, you can't really go wrong with this. So if somebody tells you that it's not perfect, maybe you don't invite them over to eat anymore. All right, now that this is nice and kind of dry feeling, right, not sticky, we're going to roll it out. Just a little bit more flour. And this can get as messy as you think, but very worth it. This is something that your kids can help you do, your kids can do once they get old enough and can kind of reach the counter to roll out dough. Even if they don't roll it out, maybe you do this part and they top it. This was something that we did as kids, and my mom made homemade pizza, but hers was super duper hearty, and I'll talk more about that a little later in the video when we start topping things. All right, I'm gonna end up with flour on the floor and probably cheese. So you're gonna roll this out until it's in the shape and size of whatever pan you're gonna use, right? So again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I like to flip it over too, just to make sure that one side isn't stickier than the other, which is important when you go to put it on your pan. So again, I have a pizza stone, and one thing that I didn't start doing until way after I had been making my own homemade pizzas for a long time is using cornmeal to put under the crust, between the crust and your pan, so that the crust crisps up a little bit better and doesn't stick to your pan. So that's something I don't want to gaslight, right? So that's why you'll see the cornmeal as part of the ingredients in that very first part of the video. All right, so I've got something that somewhat resembles a circle. Take some extra here. Pizza pan. On my pizza stone, and I just poked a hole in it. Oh well. Okay. First we're gonna do just a sprinkle, light sprinkle of cornmeal. Like I said, it helps make the crust not soggy, and it helps it not stick to your pan as well if you're not using a stone. You just fix that right there. And I just stretch it to you know, get as close to the edges as I can. Again, nobody cares about the shape of your pizza. I really don't care what it looks like as long as it tastes good. Okay, so we've got our pizza. The next thing we're gonna do, this is gonna bother me a little bit. The next thing that we're gonna do is sprinkle the crust with 2 things. We're gonna do Italian seasoning. Why I took the lid off this, I don't know. But we're gonna do Italian seasoning. And we're gonna do some garlic powder. Now I'm gonna do the sauce on top of this, and this will mix in with the sauce, so you can kind of do this in any order. But it gives the pizza a little bit more flavor. So I have roasted garlic pizza sauce. It doesn't really matter what kind you use. I've used just tomato sauce in a pinch and seasoned it a little bit more. So even if you're not one to buy, you know, you're like, I don't want to buy a whole jar of pizza sauce just to try pizza one time. Sauce and even tomato paste, if you water it down, works just fine. I mean, it's just tomato sauce, basically, flavored tomato sauce. So you don't have to get fancy with it. A couple of my kids like a lot of sauce, one of them doesn't. But, you know, I'm making the pizza, so I'm gonna make it how I like it, and they can eat it or not. All right, so we're done with the sauce. We've seasoned with garlic powder and Italian seasoning. Next, I always do a base layer of cheese. So very similar how you go to, you know, Saboro's or a pizza place, and you get the pepperoni in the case, and it's already cheese pizza with a layer of cheese on it. And then they put more toppings on it, add more cheese, and put it in the oven. This is kind of the same thing. So base layer of cheese, right? And for this one, I have one or two children who like black olives and one who doesn't. So I usually do half black olives, and I like everything on my pizza. So half black olives. And then we're gonna do the whole thing in pepperoni. You can use packaged pepperoni. This is pepperoni from the deli we use it on sandwiches and stuff too. So pepperoni. Okay, nice. All right, then of course we're gonna finish it up with cheese. I'm not even gonna show you how much cheese is on this plate that I'm pulling from, but you could probably figure it out. Now, I have done too much cheese before and everybody kind of had a stomach ache after, but worth it. Okay, so cheese, cheese, cheese. Make sure you get it all the way to the edges. That way nobody feels like they were short on the cheese. It happens. See how easy that was? Now you can put whatever you want on it. My mom did like Jimmy sausage with bell peppers and onions and olives and all that kind of stuff. Pepperoni, sausage. So this thing, when we had it as kids, was, you know, pretty thick. This is something that you can throw together in 10 minutes. It doesn't take long to cook at all. It'll brown up in your oven in about 12 to 15 minutes. You'll start to smell it, especially that garlic. So I'm gonna pop this in the oven and I'll see you guys when it's done. Okay guys, here it is. Cheesy, cheesy pizza with pepperoni and olive. Again, make it however you want. Let it cool before you cut it. This is quite hot. I like the amount of brown that I have here. If you want it more brown, leave it in for a few more minutes, or maybe a minute. Less brown, just keep an eye on it. Get to cooking, guys, enjoy.